I personally don't believe that there's the one. There's the one that you choose because love is not a feeling, it's a choice. And to build a future with them so that you can have stability emotionally, intimately, and spiritually so that you can actually conquer and take on bigger and grander things.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of 1000 Gurus with me, your host, J.R. Yonocruz. Today's guest is Lorenzo Aromin. Lorenzo Aromin is a follower of Christ, U.S. Air Force veteran turned entrepreneur, multi-business owner, certified fitness consultant via National Academy of Sports Medicine, and chief executive operator of a marketing and media content agency. He has scaled their companies collectively from 0 to 500K in 24 months organically. So this was quite an action-packed recording, so to speak. Lorenzo and I haven't seen each other in probably close to 10 years, but it was great to not only catch up with him, but also pick his brain on years of knowledge in regards to business, entrepreneurship, family, and faith. If you've ever watched or listened to motivational speakers like Tony Robbins or those business gurus like Alex Hormozi or Gary Vaynerchuk, Lorenzo gives the same vibes and energy as them, which I'm all for. He and I have the same upbringing, so to speak, in terms of entrepreneurship, and we go into that a little bit in the beginning. But overall, it was one of the most inspiring and invigorating conversations I've had on the show in a while. I had a blast recording this one, and hopefully you'll experience the same thing listening to it. So without further ado, hope you enjoyed this episode with Lorenzo Aromin. Hello and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Please welcome my guest, Lorenzo.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
What's up, man? Thanks for joining all the way from Vegas, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Are you an hour ahead of us, or are we the same time zone? I'm uncultured.
With daylight saving time, bro, I honestly thought that Nevada was going to not do it this year, but, I think
Yeah.
we're Pacific. It's the same.
Oh, is it the same? Is it
Yeah.
normally or okay,
I think it
gotcha.
is normally. Nevada's pretty much the same as Cali. Yeah. That's mountain time. Mountain time kind of changes, or they don't do it.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
where
Colorado.
do you oh, Colorado. Okay, I was gonna be like, where does that start? I
Yeah.
know like Texas is a couple hours and then obviously East Coast is like 3, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have a lot of clients on the East Coast and Central Time, so we're like always having to change it when it comes this time of the year. So we're like, ugh. Like we literally had a call like an hour ago, and then a lot of our Hawaii clients are like they missed it or they were too early for the call, and I'm like, oh wait, actually you guys are an hour ahead than
Yeah.
usual. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. People living in the future.
Yeah,
All right, man. Well, again, thanks for joining. So I'll do my usual flow. I'll go into how I know you. So
definitely.
actually, these dates I'm not really sure about, but we met when we both used to be in World Ventures, and that's when I lived
Mhm.
in the Bay. I just graduated. You were like 19 or something, right? Like when you first
Yeah, bro.
joined?
I was 19. We started in
Yeah.
that business back in
Was
2015.
it
So yeah.
2015? Yeah, that's what I have.
Yep.
2015 to 2017-ish or something like that.
Yep.
I moved back to SoCal, but then obviously we would see each other at events. Yeah, it was cool. I think for me personally, and I don't know about your end, but I think I really appreciated being surrounded by people who are so into personal development, and I've kept that till today. So I thought it was
Yeah.
like a great experience and meeting so many people, and that a lot of that stuff has not left me. So I appreciate that. And then you've gone and just been killing it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And let's see, we hung out a few times, like when you came down to SoCal, and then I've been following your career, entrepreneur, discipline. You're a fitness consultant, you run a media marketing agency, U.S. Air Force veteran, and most importantly, follower of Christ. Any other clarifications about you that we should know?
Honestly, just our mission statement really is to help people prioritize their wellness, build their wealth, and centralize their worship. And I truly believe that's pretty much the main pillars that everyone should aim for when it comes to living not really a balanced life, because I don't really believe in balance, but more of an integrated life where you could actually find success in those areas and they all flow into each other.
Anything else that we should know about you or what you've been up to? I know we caught up a little bit before we started recording, but what's been up with you?
Well, as of lately, we're expecting our first baby boy. Me and my wife
Congrats.
have yeah, thank you, bro. It's been a long journey. I would say long relative, right? Because for those of who may or may not have been following our journey, my wife actually went through her first miscarriage back in September. So it was really a mental kind of struggle spiritually, and not really us shaking our fist at God at that point, but more so having more faith. It actually grew her faith a lot more because in like essentially one of the most down and out times of our life, we actually got closer together and got closer to God. But other than that, even through that storm, We were actually building our business, our coaching business, and actually been able to hit record months during that time. So it's very interesting that when it comes to people who are in entrepreneurship or not working a regular 9 to 5 job, when things happen, usually people pull back, but more so we actually pressed in more and we're actually able to unlock new levels in our most time of grief and kind of anxiety.
And yeah, you guys definitely check out their Instagrams. These two are like a power couple. I'll do an overview. So we have three main topics: origin story, career path, like we always talk about on this show. Business and entrepreneurship is number two, and then faith and marriage is number three. So we'll see how that shapes out.
Awesome.
All right, so just to start off, Lorenzo, where did you grow up and what were your main influences that shaped you to who you are today?
Yeah, man. So I grew up in the Bay, the Northern Bay area. So if you guys are familiar with like Sacramento and San Francisco, I was kind of in the middle, a small town called Fairfield, Vacaville. The Air Force Base is kind of down the street. So that's what's really influenced me to join after high school. So I joined right out of high school. I was a class of 2013. The main reason why I joined the military was because my parents didn't and couldn't afford my college or a future for me when it comes to doing the whole college route and getting a job and a career and stuff like that. So, being the oldest child of four, I took it upon myself to go and make a way for myself and get college paid for, essentially from the military, and get a career going being so young. Because I was actually a forward thinker. I wasn't really about, oh, yeah, I just want to chill after high school and maybe dabble into some community college. Well, nothing wrong with that. But me, I wanted something better or bigger in a sense where I was taking burdens off of my parents' shoulders in that sense. Things that shaped me was essentially the people in my life. One being it, my dad. He was actually a registered nurse, typical, but it's monumental because he actually just retired back in 2020, medically discharged as a registered nurse. But one of the things that literally separated my childhood growing up was that not everyone in America or millennials are fortunate to be raised in a family where their parents are together. I had that good fortune and thank God that they were one family, a structured on the household, not so much chaotic, but more so my dad put the reps and sets in, did the work, did the time, and he ended up being on a schedule where he could actually be home every day. He worked the day shift. There was never a time I was like, oh, where's my dad? He was always there. Like after school, we'd always go play basketball at the gym. There was never a time that he wasn't there. Yeah, he'd work overtime and stuff like that. But I mean, when it comes to my childhood, I'm so blessed to have a stable household that shaped me to want to give back to my parents. Essentially, that's put me in a position where, hey, I'll join the military because it's going to be better for my future and also my family's future. And I was a dancer, as you know, and then holding my own dance sessions at my house and being resourceful as an entrepreneur. I was actually cutting hair. I was actually holding my own dance studio sessions at my garage because I didn't want to pay, or my parents didn't want to pay for me to join a company down the street that probably cost like, I don't even know, however much back then. But that's essentially how I grew up, bro.
I know you said a big part of that was you were fortunate to have that family structure and that love from your parents, and then having a close
Mhm.
knit family. What do you think that your drive or your personality is more inherent to be very focused and like hard charging and kind of doing what needs to be done and disciplined? Or do you think that you were influenced along the way or any turning points that made you who you are?
I feel like my solid upbringing with my parents actually gave me an opportunity to be more mentally and emotionally stable. Because I've seen from even my close friends that when it comes to entrepreneurship as well, if you're volatile in your emotions, you're going to be left and right and up and down. And you can't be so much of a forward thinker and think ahead because you're too clouded with your emotions. So I don't owe it to them for more of a hard charging, more like gung ho type of personality. I kind of owe that to the military. That's kind of like the next phase of my journey. But yeah, it's just a great foundation. But I know plenty of entrepreneurs who've been down and out, didn't have the best upbringing, made them even more hard charging with their environment. So it's literally what happened to me. I'm not going to pout and be like, oh, how come I didn't come up with a hard upbringing? I'm grateful for God giving me a solid upbringing. But that actually played a piece because how my wife grew up wasn't so structured, wasn't so non-chaotic. So I was actually able to be that rock, and that we're going to talk about that later, where I was actually teaching her how to be more emotionally stable, being able to follow the ways of how God wants us to structure a marriage or relationship, and me being that rock can shoulder that extra emotional baggage so that we can thrive together. Because my wife, she's not just a stay-at-home mom, but she's a stay-at-home entrepreneur, and we run our business together when it comes to how we're doing things.
I
Yeah,
want to take it back real quick. When I know we'll
sure.
touch upon a lot of those things. In terms of military, what was your field, your specialty, and what was that overall experience like?
Yeah, so I joined the military literally 3 days after my high school graduation, specifically the Air Force. So it's an 8 week basic military training boot camp in San Antonio. And I didn't know what to expect. Like, I didn't look up videos on how it's going to be or what it's going to look like. I just kind of went to it face front. And luckily, I was actually able to go with some friends in high school. And it wasn't really a buddy program, but it was more like we're doing this thing together. And he essentially had the same reasonings to go into the military as I did, to really just have a better future, have college paid for. And that's really was one of the driving things. But being in it, it was more like, hey, I'm young. I want to be able to have a solid foundation for my mental health and my mental space to essentially have a better career in the future. I guess I was just more of a forward thinker to be like, oh, I want to get more ahead. I want to get more ahead. I was always thinking on my feet. In high school, I would flip shoes, cut hair. Like, I was already entrepreneurial from the jump when it came to that. And I was actually cutting people's hair in the barracks while on deployment, at work, in the Air Force as well. That entrepreneur spirit has been living inside of me for as long as I could ever imagine. The military did give me a foundation to be more level headed, more steadfast, not really emotional when it comes to being reactive. But obviously, I'm more of a outgoing personality when I do get comfortable. But well, as I got older, I was more outgoing. But as I got older, I'm turning 30 in about a month. And I've been more kind of calm, laid back, but more systematic, especially how our business is structured now. Systems is everything. Obviously, save yourself time, money, and energy. Military did me good. I would highly recommend, especially if you're a man or a boy, having a foundation in the military is something that you can't get anywhere else. I would say don't do 20 years, because you and I both know in the coaching space and how social media is going and technology and AI, you can actually make way more money doing that, because essentially at the end of the day, we're going to go over the numbers in a minute, but the things that people can do in the coaching space can make more than doctors, lawyers, and all the above. Like, I saw the average for an average nurse in Southern California, it's about 121,000 a year. It's about $10,000 a month. And when it comes to California rates, I don't know if that's going to cut it. So that's why we escaped California's kind of exodus during the post COVID, because we were living in Walnut Creek, East Bay, and maybe 30 minutes from Oakland. And dude, like, at the time, we didn't have a coaching business, and we were in sales, translating our network marketing experience into other industries. And we were still struggling, dude. Like, it wasn't until the last 2 years where we met some business mentors that really took our business to the next level.
We'll get into entrepreneurship in just a second. I want
For
to
sure.
close the loop on your military service. So I know you said initially you went in because you knew that they would set you up, benefits, education, and whatnot. What was the next step? So you're in the military. Were you pursuing a sort of career while also entrepreneurial stuff, or was the goal always just to do your service and then get out and then learn something else to get into business? Or what was your head at that point?
Yeah, to answer the other question, I was actually an aircraft maintenance mechanic. So I was working on the KC-10 refueler aircrafts that service and literally pump gas into the fighter jets that support the boots on the ground, the Marines. And I did one tour during my time out in the United Arab Emirates. With that, being in a place where I was able to use that as leverage, it was something that I can actually use and have a more foundational standpoint, rather than, oh, I didn't want to just use the military, obviously, for leverage and then get out. I found that leadership, entrepreneurship business while I was still in. When I came into it, it was really just for school, like you said, but more so it was so that I can find something better. And that better did come in the midst of my service. So I never had a thought where, oh, I'm going to do 20 years or I'm going to plant my flag, build a life here. But I did know that it was something to get me from ground zero, from being a boy to a man. I did make the decision to get out when I did see a path where, hey, I can take this on my own. We have a friend that we just attended their baby shower, and he's actually going into the military. He's about 22 years old. And I told him, man, it's a great foundation for you and your family, but more so, using it as leverage, using it as the best tool to get ahead is what I would say for them. There's other countries that require young men to do time in service. And I think it would just be better for the generation. When the communities fall off in disarray, it really reflects back to the men in the community. And the men in the community are made up of what they do in their early life. And when we can take hold and take captive of disciplines and other things when it comes to the young men in society, I feel like the civilization or that community will just get better.
For you, it was a starting point to transition to manhood. It was a good foundation, and you knew it was going to leverage to the next thing. And then you found those opportunities, it seems. So, next, I
Yep, yep.
want to go through. So, could you walk us through your entrepreneurship journey? So, it seems like from the jump, you were already down this path. So, you found it during your military service. And then when you finished, could you walk us through the next steps after that?
Yeah, dude. So that's essentially where we met. We got invited to an open kind of meeting to be introduced to a concept that sold travel memberships. And essentially, you could scale that business into creating a level of income. It was 2015. We were in that company for about 5 years. So that's where our entrepreneurship started. And I'm so grateful. Like, I'm so grateful to be introduced to that. Like you said earlier, to be introduced and be surrounded by people that were into personal development, but specifically, we're going to get to the faith thing in a minute, but specifically our leader that we were pretty much a part of under, they were heavy Christian influence. And that's essentially what brought me to faith, because I saw other people. It wasn't even like sometimes people need that relatability, right? But they were older people, and I essentially said me too to somebody that did look nothing like me. And I feel like that was just my forward thinking. Like, I didn't need someone that looked like me, that talked like me, kind of in my same position for me to say, oh, I want to do something like that. That entrepreneurship journey ended in 2020, talking back to that whole networking journey where we got up to a status in the company that was responsible for about 5,000 people that were paying anywhere from $25 to $100 or even $200 a month. And we scaled that to about 5,000 people, which essentially would have been like from $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And during that time, me and my wife got married back in 2018. So it's been 8 years this coming February that we've been married. After that travel business went under, when it went out of business because of COVID, we wanted to do something still with entrepreneurship. So we ended up following our good friends out in Denver that ended up introducing us to life insurance sales. So life insurance sales is way different, right? You have to get a license to sell insurance policies and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with. But
Mm,
we got into that business. Little did I know that we had to pay for people to talk to, pay for leads.
mm,
And that was essentially short lived. We were in that company for about a year and a half. So we essentially translated all of our leadership, sales experience into that business. We did all right. But the thing is, we never made more than $50,000 like in that year. And during that time, it was like 2021, 2022. And we were still transitioning from the Bay to Vegas. We moved to Vegas in 2022. I actually got introduced to the door to door industry in solar sales. When I moved here, I met a friend in church, and it's crazy how things pan out, right? So I always say your network is your net worth, because the opportunities that come about, whether it's online, whether it's in person, whether it's your community that you're plugged into in your church, you're always going to find money where the people are at. Not saying people are dollar signs, but if you show up consistently and you have good intentions to add value to people's lives, and you'll essentially attract the people that you need to meet. You need to become the person first before you get to that next level. It looks like a shedding off dysfunctional habits, dysfunctional mindsets. Again, luckily, we were surrounded by a lot of personal development heavy in our first 5 years of our first business. What did that look like? It looked like going to personal development seminars every quarter. Like, you were at those events, I was with you. We were on the same so-and-so called team, and we would travel across the country to hear great entrepreneurs speak on stages and bring other people with us. And I'm so grateful for that first business that gave us that grit. We've actually calculated this on average, how much with travel, with event ticket sales, and even other mentorship programs. We've invested about $200,000 in the last 8 years just in personal development, business coaching. And that's really what it takes. Because if you do a comparison too, people go to college for essentially that much or even more, depending on what you want to do. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, yeah, go to school. But if you're spending that much amount of money and then getting a degree that you're not even going to use in your life. And you end up after the 4 years of your college education and you go back to your parents' house and you're like, hey, I'm like over six figures in debt and I'm not even using the paper that I went to school for. Then you really have to question if that said path of college education was a scam or not. Again, you can always reframe it. I know people have different upbringings too, but again, it's something that you just have to be mindful of because we live a day and age where you can literally make money online just by being you, providing value, and helping people get to a place where maybe you have been. And that's essentially what you do too, bro. Like you're a coach too. We coach people in fitness specifically and also scaling their social media and personal brand content. But yeah, it's been a long journey, bro. I want that to be the main takeaway is that it didn't happen overnight. It literally a decade of investment, time and money, grit, sweat and tears. I was doing Uber in San Francisco while building my business. I was doing DoorDash. Like we were watching dogs on Rover. Like we actually got kicked off of these apps because we were so bad at it. I
Damn.
was like back against the wall. We have to figure this out because I can't do these app services anymore because I'm kicked out.
How do you think, and maybe this is inherent, but how do you think you've changed, meaning like 18-year-old Lorenzo to now almost 30? What are the biggest differences? And then maybe a big factor in that is what you just said, which is all this investment into yourself. But could you walk us through the difference between then and now?
I would think the main difference is cutting off distraction. I made a vow this year to not drink alcohol again. And in the midst of, I would say from 18 to now, which is essentially like 10 years or so, it's really just about cutting off the distractions. And we live such in a world where there's so much noise, there's so much convenience, right? And it's actually easier to win because so many people are just in disarray and distracted. Even though I was a Christian, I became a Christian back in 2018 and my faith had obviously grown in the last 10 years, but there's vices that I had. There was smoking along with casual alcohol. I want to be sharp. I want to be level headed. I don't want brain fog the next morning. Obviously, alcohol is poison, right? And I'm not saying I'm not knocking if you drink occasionally and stuff, but for me
Yeah.
personally, it was something that even before I knew that my son's going to be born this year, like, hey, I just want to make a vow to just be a better man. I can honestly say that my son will never see me drunk. I don't knock people for whatever they believe when it comes to their religious beliefs or how they spend their time, but don't expect to win at a high level if you're attending Coachella, going to raves on the weekends, especially at our age, bro. Like, I mean, we've had our fun. Like, I've drank, I've partied and stuff. You think you're young, like in your early 20s, it's gonna fly by like that. Like, dude, it's been 10 years. So I would say just cutting off the vices. And we all know what that is for us. You being able to be, quote unquote, what the kids say, locked in is really
Yeah.
just cutting off and replacing those bad habits with good ones. I can be empathetic because sometimes people don't know what to replace it with. When I was in my 20s, oh, why not? But now I
Uh-huh.
have so much more at risk, so much more on the line. I have a business that I need to be sharp for. My son's on the way. It's like, why would I? If you stay the course, you stay faithful to what you believe in and your values, it can turn up for you, but only if you're able to cut off those vices, those distractions, and win at the game in your world where you can actually utilize all the resources that we have in front of us, right? Because if you want to get from point A to point B faster, you're going to have to find someone who's done it, do what they do so you can get what they have. And there's so many people out there, so many coaches that can tell you what to do, how to do it, at what intensity and what accountability and what level you can do it at, and you can get those results. But you just have to be willing to let go and replace those bad habits with better ones.
You mentioned some of the lows and struggles that you faced. I wanted to
Mhm.
ask if you wanted to share what some of those
Sure.
things were, and then how did you overcome it?
So typically coming out of the military, I've been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And that really is very allocated to just being on deployment, seeing things and seeing kind of in a place where a stressful environment, high intensity, people taking their life. One of my close coworkers is kind of what triggered that, where he took his life, and it kind of put me on a spiral where, hey, how do I navigate this? And the VA system is fine, but more so, I allude that to my faith in confidence with my marriage, with my wife, and me going through that kind of lowest point in my life where in between transitioning from networking, marketing, business to life insurance sales to solar sales, there was a time, it was about, I would say about 6 to 8 months where it's like nothing was working. Like nothing was hitting. Like I couldn't make a sale. The way that we got leads in the door to door, you got to go outside and knock on doors in the heat of the summer in Las Vegas, right? They do these things called blitzes where they would send a group of us to another market in like Houston or like on the East Coast, and we would just go knock doors over there. So that kind of that lowest point was like I didn't feel like my effort was translating or monetizing. And it really took a toll on me because I was like in the middle of dealing with my mental health issues, with stuff from the military, and knowing that, hey, I'm doing all this work. My body was not responding the way I wanted to when it came to my health. Like I was really putting my health on the back burner. And in the midst of this, when it came to 2021 and 2020, 2023, I talk about this a lot with my clients, especially our male clients. Like my testosterone levels was like way down. Like to the point where I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't have that sense of urgency that I once had when I was in my early 18s. And my nutrition was out of whack. Like we were struggling financially too. And in the midst of it, my wife was taking off in her fitness career. She was actually doing bikini bodybuilding from 2021 to 2023. So in the midst of that, I was having one of my lowest points where I couldn't make it happen. Like it wasn't hitting, like no sales, no nothing, like a dry spout. And really what got me out of that was just surrendering at that point, surrendering to God to where, hey, wherever you want to take me, I'm here for it, because I kind of got into where I started smoking, started drinking a little more. And it didn't get too crazy, but our marriage was kind of shaky at that point too, because she was frustrated with me. I was frustrated with her. And being, if you guys know anything about the fitness industry when it comes to bodybuilding, she's on low calories, she's rowdy, her hormones are shot. It's just a bad rap. But I knew that, being a forward thinker, like I was saying earlier, that she was going to take on more of a front runner position in how our business is set up now, to where she ended up becoming really successful in that her run in bikini bodybuilding. And it really catapulted what we were starting to build in the personal brand space when it came to Instagram and our specific ideal client, which is mostly postpartum moms, ages 25 to 46, along with men who are dealing with low testosterone symptoms that I personally went through as well, dealing with mental health and also with that kind of hormone deficiency. So we're able to help people along the way to, hey, we were once there and we know how to get you guys out of it. And that was the birth of our coaching business. But yeah, man, it's being down and out is not the best feeling, especially if you're in the midst of it. But I've learned from our past mentors that if you're in hell, just move fast. I was actually able to just stop all the noise and be quiet and be to myself when it came to like where God wanted to meet me. And what that answer was, go back to school and just surrender at that point. I went back to school because that was essentially my last resort. In the military, you can use your benefits to go to school and get paid. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Mm.
But that's essentially where I met my mentor today, which they helped us scale our coaching business from 10K, 8 to 10K when we started back in early 2024 to where it is now, where we're producing about $40,000 months.
The next topic on deck is going to be scaling, but two quick
Mhm.
tangents.
Sure,
One,
sure.
what did you go back to school for? And then two, you talked about testosterone. And as an expert in this, I want to ask, how does a guy our age, how do we resolve or fix low testosterone?
So yeah, I went back to school in a trade school called Advanced Training Institute here in Las Vegas. And it was one of the courses I was offered was to become a certified personal trainer. So the certified personal trainer course gives you your certifications to be a trainer from the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So I actually got my nutritionist certifications from there and also a certified fitness consultant there. It was a 10-month long course paid for by the military. It was like a 4-hour class, 4 days a week. And I did that for 10 months back in 2024. All right, yeah, 2023 to 2024. Being as it made, where I was in kind of the lowest points of my life, where my entrepreneurship journey was the lowest it's ever been. This was on the tail end of 2023. And I decided to go back to school because nothing was working. And I ended up meeting my partner and business mentor now. His name is Alec Cheplak. And he actually used to teach at that school when he was 21 years old. And he actually got called back to guest speak at one of the classes. And that's where I met him and his wife. We've been out of the game of personal development and being around other people in that for, I would say, about 2 years. And specifically, your environment does matter when it comes to the five most people you hang around with. You're going to be the sixth one. If you hang around five broke people, you're going to be the sixth one. Me and my wife knew that we needed to be around people that are movers and shakers because we were used to that. Where can you find the best possible industry and position to make the most money, to not spend as much to make that money? And passion is one thing. I personally wouldn't say follow your passion, but find something that you can feel good about adding value to other people. Because if you help other people get what they want, essentially you can get what you want. And we help people get what they want when it comes to weight loss and feeling better about themselves and fitting into their clothes better, having more energy so they can play with their kids, and just being in this place where you can be separated and set apart from the obesity crisis in America. If you didn't know this, bro, JR, it's over 70% of adults are obese. And what does that due to? It's due to our food, our irrigation, our supplementation. When it comes to the food sources that we have access to here, they're shot. Like they're steroided out, the chicken, the fruits, everything. But one thing you can do to negate that is move more, eat, have better choices. But you can use DoorDash to your advantage. There's a healthy button on the DoorDash app. We utilize it too because, we're coaches. We run an online business. We're at home a lot. I really don't have time to zip over to the grocery store. We use DoorDash to order our groceries. So utilizing technology, utilizing these services to buy you time so that you can work on your business and actually spend more time at home where you need to do. Going back to your question about being a young man or a male in this economy or in this society, how to prevent it? Sometimes it has to do with the water. I highly recommend getting filtered water. Don't drink tap ever. I'm not like a doctor or anything like that, but that's just one of the things that we do recommendations to our clients to really get away from that. Also, microplastics is a real thing and it does affect your testosterone levels as men. So I would highly recommend to opt into glass containers as much as you can. Don't heat your food up in plastic containers. It's really just about your nutrition. Make sure you're getting adequate amount of protein daily. And we highly recommend, especially for males, 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein, like minimum every single day, whether that looks like supplements or we highly recommend natural sources just to get your body in a sense where you're not just opting into high sugars and carbs late at night. Protein will keep you satiated, meaning it'll actually keep you fuller longer. And for you to build muscle mass, you need protein. So essentially that would back turn and actually boost your testosterone from there because most of the time, men, especially if you're just sitting back at home, playing video games, not moving, not going to the gym, your testosterone is already at a disadvantage, right? So there's physical things logistically that you can do and opt in and out of, but more so is really just incorporating strength training into your regimen. We highly recommend just a basic push-pull split, whether it's 3 times a week minimum, push day on a Monday, pull day on a Wednesday, and leg day on a Friday, and you're good to go. So I would highly recommend for people to just start with that. And when it comes to individualized programs, stuff like that, dude, like we talk about this to our clients all the time. Like, you don't need us. You don't need us to build you a workout plan, build you a nutrition plan. You could literally ask Chat GPT to make your macros, make your meal plan for you, and you can do it. But the only reason why people hire coaches is one, that human connection, and also the accountability. Because the AI won't keep you accountable because you could just shoulder it off because you can access it whenever you want. But if there's someone on your butt that was, hey, you need to eat this food or you need to get 10,000 steps, people won't do that. So that's why busy professionals will outsource that area of their life that they have no knowledge in or limited knowledge in, and then they'll outsource it to us. Just like how you can outsource your spending of going to the grocery store, spending more time with your kids at home, using DoorDash or Instacart options, stuff like that. Your success in your life is not about you having access to all the resources. It's just your lack of resourcefulness is why you're not winning. So if you're more resourceful in your life and utilizing apps or being connected with the right people, then you can honestly win.
I like that. That was a gold mine. That was worth your time already. If you just Listen, if you're listening, rewind that. That was pretty much all I need to know. I don't want to recap everything you said, but a few things that stood out to me in particular was I had my own fitness coach on the show, and I
Mm.
was telling everyone, I'm like, I know how to work out, I know how to eat, I know how to sleep, right? But the reason why I paid for a coach was, like you said, accountability, because my coach is 5, 6 times more expensive than my gym membership, but I paid for it because why would I spend $30 on a gym membership that gives me zero results when I can spend 5, 6 times more to get 100% of the results that I want? And like you've been saying, it's all about the systems, the accountability, the intentionality. Like you can learn how to do anything, but if you don't apply it, you're not intentional about it, then where are you going to go? All right, I want to go now into, so you've definitely created a lot of success in your career, your business. And so I want to ask about particularly scaling a business like yours. And then the other side of that is you mentioned specifically organic lead gen compared to using paid ads. Where do you want to start?
So scaling a business like ours or like mine, it really has to go through with just the main ideal is how can you help people? If you can ask yourself that question is how can you provide value? You're always going to get paid more in the marketplace for providing more value. And from us, it wasn't something, oh, we just decided to become a fitness consultant or fitness coach. It was something that was already a part of our everyday life. Having military experience and having fitness be a basis of it there for me, which translated over to when I did marry my wife back in 2018, it was more of a standard that we had in our life that sometimes people they don't have that and it's not their fault, but they just don't have the time or resources to try to figure it out on their own. So they ended up obviously outsourcing and hiring someone who is more knowledgeable in that area. But for us, it just came natural back when we started back in 2015. Like it just came organically. And I think that's more of how people can find their niche, their value, and what they can give is something that happens more organically. Like you can have the passion behind it, but passion is not the main driver and why you start a business. The passion should be for the people that you serve. You can have no passion in it, but just because you like seeing people lose weight or you like seeing people be better in their relationships and their finances, like how you have accumulated your community of people, that's where I feel like people should start when it comes to providing value. There's so many avenues nowadays. People have low ticket items when it comes to courses and selling products and drop shipping, stuff like that. We particularly have a one-on-one service where our coaching business is really a community of just us utilizing social media to generate leads so that we can actually reach out to them and nurture them long term. So we can actually have an ever flowing funnel of people that are our specific avatar, which is essentially, like I said earlier, postpartum moms, busy professionals that want to lose weight from typically from ages 25 to 45. On the men, it's kind of around the same range, but with those same kind of characteristics of being a busy professional as well. How to scale a business like ours, you have to be on social media. When you take upon entrepreneurship as a whole and leadership specifically, you will have to give up a level of privacy. And what I mean by that is it's not like you're going live while you're in the bathroom, like, hey guys, and you're talking about toothpaste and stuff like that, whatever. You have to give up a level of privacy. And also, you have an obligation to display and communicate a message to your audience, which you're trying to give value to on a daily basis. Nowadays, obviously, we have social media and there's so many highlight reels, there's so many things going on. People are posting left and right. But there's also a wave of people utilizing this platform and just being a consumer, watching from the sidelines. But when you want to be in the game, like you have to be in the game, you have to be in front of the camera, you have to learn how to have better communication skills, looking at the camera, getting uncomfortable. We utilize a lot of live platforms when it comes to IG Live or Zoom calls. We do webinars quarterly that go into how to actually sustain a better fitness, health, and wellness that we put up for our webinar for our community. And these are things that are just mandatory when it comes to providing value on a consistent basis. And then from there, we're actually able to convert people that are more on the consideration, like, hey, I follow these people, this couple, this person because they're a great fitness coach. But I honestly believe that you need to stand out. And what makes us stand out, me and my wife, is we're not just fitness coaches. We're not just people who talk about personal development. We're essentially what we like to call it three-dimensional. We talk about faith. We talk about fitness. We talk about building wealth. But we've been putting off our own podcast for the longest time. So doing this and having us be in this scenario is inspiring me to take that next step too, because people need your message. If you're a coach, if you're somebody that wants to provide value, people can relate to you. You want to find out a way how you can stand out separate from the crowd, because there's so much noise. There's so many people that are the same. People are using the same chat GPT prompts. People are using the same scripts. What makes you different? And I truly believe what makes us different is just being us, being able to talk about faith boldly and unapologetically, us being able to express our passion and our expertise in fitness, and also how to build wealth in any industry, on how they can scale a coaching business online from zero to essentially their first six figures. Kind of one metric that I want to put out is my wife did a story the other day, and this is all because of organic lead gen, building a community, building a personal brand. So she had one story up. It got about 20,000 views just from one story. And from that, we have these systems in place. That's where our marketing and media agency comes in. That business grew organically from our consulting business, where we actually accrue leads, which is name, number, email. People opt into a form and they comment the word fit, and they get into a single option landing page. And from there, they're able to submit their name, number, email, and we're able to contact them personally and drip on them and nurture them through email and through the announcements that we have for webinars and stuff like that. So that's essentially what we do in a nutshell. And again, this is all organic, no paid ads whatsoever. It's more money in your pocket that you can actually utilize to invest back in your business. So
It's interesting because I don't know if I have any questions to ask because everything I'm just like, yes, yes, that's fantastic. Great. I agree.
yeah,
Maybe the last thing to tie up this part, unless you had any other points, was if there was someone who is, let's say, 10 steps behind you and they aspire to have, let's say, a coaching practice or to have a business similar to yours and to scale it up or even just start. Do you have any initial piece of advice for them to get started on that track?
yeah, logistically, just be authentic, be you, but more so invest in yourself when it comes to posting more. So our minimum daily standards of activity when it comes to trying to build up an audience would be posting at least 3 to 5 times a day on any given platform, whether it's your stories, whether it's to your threads. Like, you need to be known more. And going back to what we said about investing in ourselves, like, you're familiar with Alex Ramosi, and he did that last book launch of $100 million money models, where they actually broke the world record of the most book sales in nonfiction, beating Barack Obama and Prince Harry and a bunch of other famous people. And this is just a gung-ho entrepreneur. They beat the world record in 72 hours. They made 176 million, right, baby? Yeah, $176 million
Crazy.
in 3 days, bro. And we were a part of that. We invested into that 200 book purchase, and with a bunch of other extras when it comes to his systems and processes and how he does marketing, personal branding, sales, stuff like that. That was a $6,000 investment on that day. And I didn't know that I was going to drop 6K on a webinar that day. Like, I woke up, oh yeah, Alex Ramosi doing his thing. And if you didn't know, they actually live here in Vegas too. And we go to a premier private bodybuilder vibe gym here in Vegas. And they were actually there a couple of years ago, and we've seen them and chopped it up a little bit. But more so, just be someone that wants to be out there. If you're trying to target a specific audience, talk directly to them. If you want to reach, say it's people who want to be better in their marriage or their dating, you would call out that person, talk to them like you're just talking one-to-one. The content should be surrounded by that kind of feel, because realistically, what we're transitioning to when it comes to IG's algorithm, like, they're going to push your content out to the people that need to see it. And I would specifically encourage all of you who want to start off in the coaching space or the service-based space, online services, you need to just post more and actually be specific to who you're trying to reach, and know that you do not need to go viral. You do not need to have millions of followers or even thousands of followers. Like, in comparison, my wife has about 670K followers now, and she started off, I would say 2 or 3 years ago, around only less than 100,000. When people feel like you're human, people feel like you're talking directly to them, and that specific message is catered towards what you want to add value to them for, it's going to reach the people that needs to reach. And then also, not only posting just about your service, but being, again, three-dimensional. So what do I mean by that? I mean, posting personal, like you and your spouse be doing things like we post about us going to dinner all the time here in Vegas, us being at church. Value could be things about your business, things about your service, things that you're an expert in. And then proof could be a client result that you've gotten for somebody, or things that you've done, why your service helps other people. So it's personal, value give, and then also proof of concept, proof of why your service works, is essentially what those things need to be round robin per se in your social media content. So you're not so one dimensional. You're not just white noise to your audience. So they feel like, oh, when you get on a sales call, when you get on a conversion call, oh, dude, JR, I feel like I know you. You need to have those words come out of their mouth when it comes to your audience, because when you build that trust, and you may have heard this before, but we're in a trust recession. People aren't trusting people as much because there's so much automation, there's so much AI out there. People are scamming people in the coaching space. You want to be able to put more free value out there, and the kind of content that you want to put out there is the same kind of content that you would put out as if you're coaching them as a real client. So don't gatekeep whatsoever. Everything that you have to offer, give it away for free. But because here's the thing, going back to what I was saying earlier, JR, about the accountability, like you can give the sauce out for free and they won't even do it. But because they pay you to do it, they do it. You have to
Mm-hmm.
pay to play. You have to have skin in the game to actually get the results. But, you know, that's the reason why Alex Ramosi was so successful in his book launch, because he's done years of YouTube after webinar, after book launches and stuff like that. I've consumed most of his content for the last 3 or 4 years. And he's like, hey guys, if you haven't consumed any of my content for the last however many years, please buy this offer. I was like, all right, man, your value is worth it. And I just had to drop 6K. But again, that ROI when it comes to that investment has paid us basically 5 times fold.
Man, that was a masterclass right there, guys. You guys got your money's worth. Let's pivot a little bit. I want to keep it moving. Last topic, faith in marriage. So I want to ask about getting married. This is like a big thing. I think
Mhm.
most people, it's a human experience, right? Being in a relationship and considering marriage. So you mentioned you married young. How did you decide getting married was the right decision? Just first off.
Yeah, dude, of course. People go through their love life. Just a little background, before I got married, I was actually in a long-term high school sweetheart relationship for about 4 years. I took it upon myself that I wouldn't get involved with anybody else until I was my age that I am right now. Like, knowing that I was business minded already, I was like, dude, I'm just going to be head down, get locked in, and I'm not going to focus on anything but my business. And I'm just going to be a hopeless romantic until I'm 30 years old. And obviously that didn't happen, right? God definitely softened my heart during that time. How did I know that being married was the right decision? At the time, and it just so happens that my wife was actually one of my business partners in our first business. She was my top producer in my business. And I was emotionally unavailable, like at the time, for whatever reason. But as I grew with my faith, as I chased God more, God softened my heart more. And he revealed to me that if you're going to build anything, if you're going to build something great, you need a helper. Just like going back to the classic and the most famous Bible story with Adam and Eve, the women are there to be your helper. They're there to be the side rib from your side rib. And he didn't speak to me, God didn't speak to me audibly, but it was more of it wasn't my thought. So I knew it was from God that, hey, she's going to be the one to help you build this thing, whatever it's going to look like. If you have faith in me, and if you want to do this with me, you're going to have to do it my way. And contrary to the world, his way is this: marriage is sacred. It's a covenant between one man and one woman. And it's also a covenant when it comes to intimacy or sex within the confines of marriage. So obviously, I was in a place where I was chasing God. Okay, God, if you want me to do this thing, I'll do it. I'll be obedient. And what that looked like was it was a wrestle. I knew that if I wanted to follow him full and wholeheartedly, I couldn't be a hypocrite. I couldn't lead my wife, future wife, hey, I'm going to follow God, but I'm not going to do it how he sets it up to be. And that's essentially where we pulled the trigger and say, hey, we're going to do it God's way. We started dating September 2017. 5 months later, we were convicted and we eloped at court, February 15th, 2018. That deciding factor, I didn't know that it was the right decision. It wasn't from my own like mental preference, but I knew that was what God wanted me to do. So regardless of how I felt of what was right and wrong, I knew that was right because I was right in God's eyes. And I'll say this for the people who are not married yet, or they're single, or maybe if you're with somebody and maybe you're holding off on marriage, I would say that there's never a right time. Just like how there's never a right time to have a child, or there's never a right time to start a business, you're just going to have faith that it'll work out. And then also, especially when it comes to young men and young women, I personally don't believe that there's the one. There's the one that you choose, because love is not a feeling, it's a choice. So God designs us to be with one person and to build a future with them so that you can have stability emotionally, intimately, and spiritually, so that you can actually conquer and take on more bigger and grander things, being that your foundation at home with the most important person that you're ever going to spend the rest of your life with at home is secure and foundational. So you don't have to worry about other things. So, yeah.
All right, so having been married for several years now, I guess, do you have any piece of advice on how to sustain a good marriage?
Yeah, definitely. It's because if you ask me on a secular level, secular meaning without the spiritual context to it, which again, being courteous to your audience, whether I'm not trying to push my beliefs on you guys, but we're Christians. We believe in Jesus Christ, that he was the savior of the world, that he died for our sins and he rose on the third day, and that we can find eternal life through him, being that you put your full faith and trust in him and follow him for the rest of your days. But the second answer would be choose somebody that you can be friends with, that you can have open communication with, be in full honesty with. And even with that, you still need the help on a spiritual matter, because marriage and relationships are not just a transactional kind of logistical thing. You don't just live with somebody and just call it good. And it's a spiritual thing, truly. And I would say that keep God in the center. Chase God first. And if you ever seen this picture or this kind of illustration where there's a man and a woman, and too many times people try to like over emphasize or over obsess with each other, and they have no foundation when it comes to where they get their merit from, where they get their foundational philosophies or theologies from. And they're basing their relationship on past experiences and then also basing on their feelings. And it's really rocky, because when you have no mediator, you have nothing to abide by, it can get really rough when it comes to two different people from two different backgrounds that have two totally different aspects of life. And what is right, what is wrong is dependent on how they feel. But if you have a mediator, which is God, and which is from what we believe, which is the Bible, when you chase God simultaneously and equally, then you will in turn grow closer together. So that is my biggest piece of advice when it comes to sustaining a marriage. Obviously, it's way harder to get a divorce, but when you're married, you have to figure it out. You choose to love this person, and you say these things like, till death do you part, for richer or for poor. And those things aren't just something that people say. There's plenty of celebrities out there that are just getting divorced like willy-nilly. Like, the value of marriage has gone down over the years when it comes to the way that our society's moving towards. But more so, if you can keep marriage sacred, keep it how God designed it, then essentially you don't really have to worry about anything. Because if you're around a community that you can actually seek wise counsel from, like other married couples that are also maybe of the same faith as you, then you'll be all right. That's my advice for being married for almost 8 years. I was 22 and my wife was 20. So that just to give you kind of a perspective.
Cool, man. All right. I think we've come to the end of my planned questions. Do you think we left anything out? Otherwise, we can go into rapid fire questions.
Did we leave anything out, bro? I don't know. The
Yeah.
flow was good, bro. Like I really like how you set it up and you being an avid listener and asking those questions that, pretty much unspiral more of like deep into the story and giving people a perspective of you don't have to wait until the right time. Invest in yourself is one of the takeaways from the whole thing. And if all else fails, you have to surrender and have faith and be surrounded by people that will uplift you and point you in a direction of how God wants you to be. Your environment will determine your future when it comes to financially, spiritually, but at the end of the day, it's your choices have led you to where you are today. It's nobody else's fault but your own. But the power in that is you can actually choose to make different choices to get a different result of your environment or your success in your life. You just have to make different decisions. You just have to replace the bad habits with the great ones. You do it long enough, you'll see massive transformation, not just physically and fitness, but spiritually and also financially when it comes to building a business too.
All right, let's start rapid fire then. First
Cool,
question,
cool.
billboard question. If you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, what would it say?
Trust God and full send it.
Self-inflicted wound. Do you have a story about something that's gone wrong in your life that's your own fault and you can't blame anyone else because you did it to yourself?
Yeah, like I said before, bro, it's like those vices that I was dabbling into, whether it was smoking, alcohol, gambling. These things are the detriment and the stop hold for anyone's success. Not to say that it's wrong when it comes to, say, any normal person, but I don't want to be a normie. I want to be someone who exceeds and does great things and impact other people's lives. I would say just drop the vices and to focus on your relationship with God and watch things change and unfold extremely just because you're in a better mental state and watch what God does in your life. It's amazing, honestly.
If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be, or words of wisdom that have impacted you the most?
To my younger self, I would say don't lose hope in what's in front of you. Always trust the Lord with your effort, with your finances, and with your capabilities, because the things that are set before us is already written. And I'll quote this scripture from Jeremiah 29:11 is, "For I, the Lord, know the plans I have for you. They are plans for good and to give you a future and a hope." And I would just say that I wish I would tap in more with my Bible, tap in more with a faith filled community sooner and be more surrounded by that. We've done the entrepreneurship plugging in and stuff like that. But if I were to say having more uplifting in my faith early on would be a good catapult for us. Not to say it would give us more success, but I would say it would give us more spiritual success as well. I wouldn't change a thing, honestly. But if I could be more effective, I would say obviously drop the vices or doing anything that can deteriorate you from your goals. Don't think that you can balance it. That's my takeaway for my younger self or anyone who wants to get ahead and do something great.
How do you define success?
Success is doing the things that you said you would do and doing it with high intensity and doing it full out each and every single day. This is cliche, but if you go on about your life and you reach the end of it and you meet the person that kind of looks like you, but they're actually the person that did everything to the T or maxed out their life and was a version of you that wasn't afraid to do the thing or even invest more money or even stay up later, wake up earlier. Success is just doing the things that you said you would do long after the mood you set it in and being of your word, because the most important thing that we have is our word and it's our bond. And also being able to give more to the church is my level of success, my definition of success. And I'll just tell you this side story when it comes to finances. We give 10% our first and our best to our home church. And we've been doing that since we were married. And I would tell you right now that it dramatically changed our relationship with our money. And over the years, from giving 10% that looked like 10, 20, couple $100 to now today looks like thousands of dollars a month is just amazing for us to even fathom, because I remember getting a big check from the EDD when we were in COVID, when we went to unemployment, and we were still abiding by those principles, giving our first and our best. And we were like, ooh, I'm giving $1,500 to church. That's a stretch. But nowadays, that's just a typical week. And we're so grateful to be in this position. They're building a new baptism pool. They're building a parking lot. Like, it's a new building has been in the works for the last 3 years here at our home church here in Vegas. If you guys are ever in Vegas, hit up City Light Church. It's our home church, and it's great worship, the word, it's awesome. And hopefully you guys will feel the presence of God there, and maybe even be inspired to find a home church that's connected or even similar to it where you live.
Cool, man. Next thing, what is something you've been pondering a lot recently or something you think about often deeply?
Now that we're in the season of us becoming parents, or me being a first-time dad, is how we're going to not really balance it. Obviously, my life is about to change dramatically in the next month or so. You speculate and your thoughts go haywire. As an entrepreneur, it's kind of natural, if you're wired like that, to just kind of stay up all night and like, hey, what's the next thing I should do? So I wouldn't put it on one thing, but on a personal level, that's all I've been thinking about. Like, we're setting up the nursery in a couple weeks. We had a big gender reveal here in Vegas with our family and friends. We're just prepared for the next season of our life, and whatever God demands us to show up as, we're going to show up wholeheartedly with the level of dedication and contribution that we do with our business, with our audience, with our people that we serve, our clients. Obviously, we're going to go 10 times beyond with our own child.
What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made in either time, money, energy, or etc.?
The best investment that I've ever made is putting my wife in a place where that she could succeed and be a successful brand ambassador to our business. What that looked like is putting my health on the back burner. It looked like me sacrificing our finances to invest in her career when we were first starting out. And in turn, it's been able to give us a great reach and platform to help not just other clients in fitness, but more so entrepreneurs. That realistically, the person that you choose to marry is one of the most important decisions, second to putting your faith in God and Jesus. I believe that investing that time, money, and effort into your marriage is going to be the best investment that you'll ever do. A business problem isn't just a business problem. It's usually a personal problem that shows up in your business. So if you're not good at home, don't expect that your business can take off to the level of its potential if your home life isn't sound. And then also that goes into the health aspect too. We believe wholeheartedly that if you have your health and fitness squared away, it'll actually pour into whether your career, whether your personal life with your spouse, and also into your faith. So we chose an industry and a service where we can help people get out of brain fog, get out of underlying diseases so that they can actually excel in other areas of their life.
Last two, favorite recent purchase in the $50 to $100 range that has impacted your life the most in the last, let's say, 6 months.
Shameless plug is that if you're a man on here that's looking to be sharper in their entrepreneurship journey, investing about on a range from $200 to maybe $300 a month, if you need it, into hormone replacement therapy to get your testosterone levels not to a level where it looks like steroid bodybuilder type, but to a level where you're in natural and optimal ranges so that you can perform better mentally, physically, into your business, and overall you just feel better. Those would be more of the life-changing purchases on a monthly basis that you could do. And if you guys need help finding resources, obviously you can find me and we can find a place where a clinic that can help you in that way so you can actually crush and conquer your business and your life.
All right, last one. Any favorite books, movies, videos, articles, media, or anything that you share or recommend the most?
Books, the biggest thing would be The Magic of Thinking Big was one of the pivotal books in my entrepreneurship journey, just because it really got me out of the mindset of being a worker to being more of a business owner, and what it took to start cutting certain people out of your life and to start replacing them with people that are going to better you, to be surrounded by people who are like-minded that want to grow and build something rather than build something for somebody else. So The Magic of Thinking Big is one of the most iconic personal development books out there. I would highly recommend it for anyone who wants to start out in their entrepreneurship journey. It's one of my favorites, along with Secrets to the Millionaire Mind is a good one as well. Other than that, You can read all the personal development books out there. You can go to all the seminars. But if you don't apply it, like you said earlier, JR, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. But even then, we live in such a microwave, instant gratification society. Just because you buy the course, buy the books, even put years of time into these things. Even for me, I hit rock bottom investing thousands of dollars into things like that. Just know that it won't happen right when you right when you purchase it or even buy it. It'll happen inconsequentially later on in your life if you choose to utilize it, harness it, and embody it and being a part of how you think.
I like it.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
Lorenzo, we made it to the end. So we have ending
Cool, bro.
questions, and then I'll do my wrap up before I stop the recording. But final questions, gratitude. Shout out to my mom for teaching me this. Lorenzo, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for my relationship with Christ. I'm grateful for my wife. Grateful for our family, our supportive family. We both have supportive mom and dads in both of our sides of our family. And I'm grateful for our community that we built over the years. If it wasn't for that, people that we serve, none of this would be possible when it comes to the level of contribution and monetary success that we've been able to create and achieve. We're just getting started. I'm just so grateful to be in a position where we could contribute to other people. So that's what I'm grateful for.
I like it. All right. Any final ask from the audience or any final takeaways you'd like them to have from the show that you haven't already covered?
For all you guys who are listening, if you've gotten this far, I strongly believe that you're somebody who wants to level up, who wants to be better in their life, whether it be physically, spiritually, financially. Tapping into a community of people who are going in that direction is the best decision that you'll ever make. And if you could take anything from what we covered with JR and myself, just pick one and execute. You don't have to do everything that we said, but honestly, if you applied just one thing and just came back and revisited this recording and it's something that, you want to utilize and utilize right away and you get results, please reach out to us. Like, hey, that 1000 Guru podcast changed the game for me. Like, I would love to hear that. Obviously, if you ever see us around, I'm sure whether it's through social media, I would love to hear people who get results and success out of the things that we cover, because that's really what we're about, right? We're about contribution. We're about giving value to the people that need it the most. And if we're just helping each other, and the moment that you help other people get what they want, you're going to get what you want. And yeah, bro. So love it, bro. I love this setup. Thanks for asking me. Thanks for having me. I would say that this is actually my first kind of casual and more professional podcast kind of appearance. And I'm happy to do more of these if you were to have me. But just know that you inspired me to have us tap in more, because we're going to launch ours and you'll plug it in later. But it's called the Triple Edge podcast, which is everything that we ever covered: wellness, wealth, and worship.
That's dope, man. I'm excited for you. Before I sign off, where can people find you if they want to check out what you're up to or reach out or anything like that?
My Instagram handle is zofit.legit. And if you wanted to have a resource, a free resource, it's going to be Aromin Aesthetics /free download. And it's really a 6-page document where you can actually find foundational keys and attributes and mindsets on how to calculate your macros, how to build a workout program for yourself, and actually have the same kind of principles that we use and protocols that we use for our clients. And you can actually utilize it yourself and start getting results right away. We call that the Fit Hack Playbook. So you can find that on that link. You can find us at our Instagram handles. Mine, zofit.legit, and then my wife's handle is catriona.fit.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, all right. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I want to say that I already had high expectations, but you already knocked that out of the park. You're like a wealth of knowledge, so you definitely over-delivered. Excited about your podcast. I'm definitely going to check it out. And if a part 2 for this show, if it's in the cards, I would love to have you back. I think you just
Definitely.
have a lot more to say, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.
Cool. All right. Let me do my final sign off before I stop the recording. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Be sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe, all that cool stuff. Leave us 5 stars, whichever platform you're listening to. It really helps out the show. A reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself. And remember that you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thank you guys for being here.
Yes, sir.